Welcome to Steve's Place. It's good to see you this Sunday, 6 p.m. on Father's Day. And soon to be my birthday this week. What a week. Anyway, a couple things I need to do before we introduce our guest. I want to remind everyone to sign up for our YouTube channel. I'm really trying to get up to at least 200 members, by the end of the year. So if you know anyone who would like to join, now's a good time to do it. It's $9.99 a month. Starting this week, I'll be adding one 2024 video every other week. So you'll be able to see the 2024 conference as a member on this channel. And for those who want the whole thing, just go over to HowTube. Just go to our website and click on the HowTube last year's image, and you'll be able to get that. Meantime, this is going to be our logo for this year. This is our banner, TeslaTech 25, August 6th to 10th. I encourage people to sign up. Go to TeslaTech.info, get signed up. We still are running we're running 25% right now. You bring 2 or more people in, you get a 30% discount. So now's the time to sign in. And I hope to get everybody sign up for it, in the near future here. I'm sending out 6,000 programs this week. So hopefully you'll get one in the mail, and that will inspire you. And don't forget to click that thumbs up button. Now we need to get that thumbs up, for YouTube channel so that people will find us easier and everything. And last but not least, a little bit more on the conference. We're looking at having at the Crown Plaza. The hotel rooms run about $120 a night. That includes for 2 people. That includes breakfast. So it's a great opportunity, to get you in there, get there. Breakfast we're going to start breakfast at 6 in the morning. But if you're running late, get there at 8, just when our speakers start. Well, not to fear. Go through the line, get your meal, take it right on into the speaker room, because we're set up with school type setup, where you have everybody has a table in front of them, so you can sit down there and eat and watch the show. You don't want to miss anything. Anyway, TeslaTech 25. See you all there. Get signed up this week. The sooner the better. It's August 6th to 10th. And don't forget, in July, we also have Psychotronics, but I'll cover that next week. Anyway, tonight's guest is Bob Connolly. Bob is, I'll let him tell us about himself. And without no further ado, let me get rid of, there we go. There's Bob. And he's been in Tesla quite a bit. Has about 30 years of research he put together on Tesla's medicine and how it saved his life. So without further ado, Bob, just go ahead and
take it away.
Yeah, take it away.
Well, Steve, thank you for having me on. And sounds like you've got an amazing conference going on. I'm up here in Canada, so it's a little ways away from me, but it would be something that it would be really good to attend, especially because it's it's something that I have sort of devoted my rest of my life to, is introducing Tesla's medicine, what he used on himself and invented and patented a lot of the things that people don't know about. So I ended up making a movie about it, and I'm making 2 more episodes. So it's a trilogy of feature films about Tesla's healing machines, and it's called Tesla's Medicine. So my first film is called The Universal Fluid. So Tesla would always talk about, if you want to discover the secrets of the universe, think in terms of, energy, frequency, and vibration. So my movie sort of gives away sort of the secrets of the universe. That's what I'm trying to do. It's the secrets of Nikola Tesla's healing machines. So to give you a little bit of a background about where I came from, I started as sort of like a musician, and I adopted using music computers very early, a Macintosh computer, and Apple paid attention to it. And I sort of became an evangelist for Apple, sort of like Joe Rogan. So they called them evangelists. And I sort of wrote articles about how to use a computer to make music. And then when video came out, I embraced that. So how to use a Macintosh computer to make music when they just invented QuickTime. So I was a QuickTime evangelist for Canada. And then we moved into desktop publishing and wireless technology. So my job was to write articles about how wireless would be used in the future. So this is when they just started. Apple did not have a Wi-Fi base station at that time, and they handed me a portable computer and a card that went in the side, PCMCIA card, so you could get an internet connection. My job was to write articles about how wireless computing would be used in the future. So I was an early adopter, and I overexposed myself to the technology. I just really never got away from it. I had deck phones and cell phones and Wi-Fi repeaters and Bluetooth and everything, because I thought I should learn about everything, and I never got away from it. So I became very sensitive to overexposures of these unnatural frequencies that don't exist in nature. And I found out by trial and error that if I got away from it for a while and went out into nature and walked through nature and grounded myself and got some ultraviolet light on my body and used magnetic field therapy, I could survive with all this toxic overload. And that is sort of what brought me into this business. And I said, well, I think it's time for me to tell the world about what I sort of went through, and ways that everybody that's maybe feeling like me, and I'm pretty sure that a great deal of all this chronic illnesses, that Robert Kennedy's talking about is coming from overexposures to all of our products. So what I did is I decided to make a feature film about it. I teamed up with a scientist, and about 12 years ago, I started making the film, and with a research grant from the university here in Canada, and with the scientists that taught a 2-year course on the biologic effects of magnetic fields. I traveled all over Europe through all the factories and the clinics that sort of use this type of technology that sort of was invented by Nikola Tesla in using the Tesla coil. So my film, Tesla's Medicine, the first one, the Universal Fluid, is about magnetic field therapy, his research in magnetic fields. And, sort of what I could give you a little start is I could take you to my website here, and I can, basically play the trailer so you can get an idea, and I hope it all works for you.
In the universe, there is a core from which we obtain knowledge, strength, and inspiration. If you want to find the secret of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration.
Magnetic energy is the secret, and Nikola Tesla used it as medicine.
Tesla created the electromagnetic power grid and the way power is distributed through North America.
We are surrounded by magnetical fields which are covering the natural magnetical field. So we have a loss of natural energy. With a result, we are becoming sick.
I live a life of seclusion. The opinion of the world does not affect me.
He also discovered he could use them to heal himself in smaller dosages.
It's absolutely amazing.
With no side effect by adding more frequencies.
The wave frequency of the human cavity resonates between 6 and 8 hertz.
Tesla has developed a special coil. We in the electronic area, we are producing cylinder coils, and Tesla developed a coil which is like a pancake. And a lot of secret things happens with this Tesla coil, also in the medical area.
Tesla's round and flat spiral coils are now inserted inside mats, pads, probes, and glasses.
We use it for increasing circulation, and they have not a second of pain.
Back pain, for example, headache.
I've been sick for 3 years. I can't live life like this. And literally, I laid on a mat for 3 days and it was gone. And I said, this is a miracle. Why doesn't the world know about this? That's a big subject, which you're going to learn about.
It's my decade-long journey in search of Tesla's lost inventions. Read rare archives of how Tesla coils were energized using secret frequencies of magnetic fields. It's called frequency therapy. I documented here how it all started and how it is used in secret to this very day. Join me for a thought-provoking exploration in search of Tesla's medicine.
Okay, so that's the promo for the film. And you could learn more about the movie by going to teslasmedicine.com. And if I just take you, to the home page, these are the different ways you can view it. You can view it for free on Tubi, watching commercials. Apple actually buys ads for the film so that you'll watch it on their device, on Tubi on their device, and it's on Prime Video all over the world. It's just been picked up. It's in heavy rotation all over the world now. And you can also buy it directly from me from Vimeo. Okay, so this is basically my training studio. The reason why I made the film is to introduce Tesla's invention of the Tesla coil, how he used it to heal himself, and how it was incorporated into a lot of the devices that you probably are familiar with if you're into healing with these things, pulse magnetic field therapy, for example. So I went to all the factories that make all these things, IMRS, Bamer, QRS, Mass, all the machines. I own all the machines, and I studied them and got a lot of them licensed by Health Canada and the FDA. It took me, 7 or 8 years to, figure that all out. And so the movie's been out for over a year now, and it's done really good. It won 13 film festivals, and it's been accepted into 22. And it's in high rotation, so it's been accepted. It's not like a YouTube video; it's in surround sound, and it's my first of 3. So episode 2 is going to be about light therapy, and episode 3 is going to be about vibration. So energy, frequency, vibration. And today, what I want to do is give you a little bit of peek into what I'm going to do in episode 2 on light therapy, Tesla's inventions on using light as medicine. So I'll address that, and I'll show you some behind the scenes and narrate that for you. But sort of before I do this, I want to give you sort of an introduction to my studio here. So the idea is that we have 3 featured documentaries that introduce energy medicine. And I use this studio here to teach private courses in energy medicine. And what I'm planning to do is, and right in the midst of that right now, is that the the training videos that I do make here on the different devices will be embedded inside of a book, Apple Books. And so you'll go to the Apple bookstore, you'll download the book, the movie, the feature film will be inside the book. It'll be a different version of the feature film because we don't need commercials from Tubi. And I'll have like the making of it, behind the scenes, the things I really couldn't say on, you know, broadcast television because it would sort of upset too many people. So in the book, you'll be able to, you know, get different points of view of how, you know, the reason why you don't know a lot of a lot of these things, and more in depth about how to use the technology and a sort of a high level, the difference between a sine, a square, a sawtooth, you know, waves, the different frequencies, what the different frequencies do. That'll be all inside the book. And I'm right in the midst of that process right now, taking the entire film, putting it in the book. And this studio right here is, as you're going through the pages, I'll pop up and I'll teach you how to use it from the studio. So I'm going to give you a little tour of how I, you know, teach the subjects, university course. And so basically I have two cameras. I have a wide camera, and, you know, we have, you know, screen up here so you can see that. And I've got another one over here that I can change. And this was my close-up camera. And I have a side camera here. How you doing? So you get bored looking at one view, and I've got digital compositing in the background. All my cameras are virtual cameras that have digital compositing everywhere. And this is where I compose my music. So the movie that I made, I scored it myself, and it's in surround sound. And sort of this is sort of, you know, where I did it. So the studio here, it's a surround sound recording studio, and this is what I use to compose my music. Anybody that's sort of into theremins and analog synthesizers and keyboards, you know, this is what I do here. And I also have a camera here that if I want to make it a little bit interesting, I can change my background. So this is my view of Space Force. Everybody says like the med beds are real and they're using it in outer space and all that stuff. So this is sort of like where I can sort of put up that, and I can change the backgrounds, you know, for all that too. And I also have an overhead thing here so that I can demonstrate products, which I will sort of do. Like this is a mass pillow for magnetic field generator. And these are like meters, Tesla meters to measure that. And this is a vitamin D meter, you know, over here. You know, so yeah. So this is where I will teach inside the book, and I will be having university courses where you can get a degree in frequency therapy with my partners at the university up here in Canada. So it's all coming out now, guys. It's kind of cool. All this stuff that was banned, don't talk about it. That's all sort of over with now. So I'm deep into the FDA, and all the machines are all, you know, got FDA registration, and they pay your registration fee, and there you go. So Tesla's technology that was incredibly popular in the turn of the century for this Tesla coil for magnetic field therapy and light therapy and vibration machines that were all banned, you know, when the Flexner report came in, and they decided to, you know, get rid of anything that had to do with therapies and just only, you know, regular universities. And it went to the Soviet Union, and then it came over to the wall, and it sat in Switzerland for how many years, and now it's all okay to bring it in to the United States and Canada and around the world. And, you know, Prime and Apple and Tubi are pushing the movie, and they're introducing Tesla to everybody. So hooray, something to say good things about the government. Instead of bad things about the government, it's time to say some good things about the government, because it's all okay now. As long as you don't make too many claims. It's wellness device, and if you want to make a claim, you have to get a 510 clearance for transcranial or non-union bone fractures. But if you just say it's a wellness device that you want to be able to use to stop you from getting chronic, diseases and conditions, we're all good to go. And they like the idea, and you can actually write it off on your health savings account or your taxes. So the time is right to bring out, all this Tesla healing machines that were banned. So the time is here, and my movie is releasing it. And in this session today, I'm going to give you a little bit of peek on episode 2. Episode 2 is my journey into the United States, because episode 1 is about magnetic field therapy in Europe, how well it's ingrained in their healthcare system over there. But in the United States, it's now becoming, mainstream. Light therapy is a little bit different. So one of the things that Nikola Tesla did is he invented this thing called the high frequency apparatus. And everybody says, what's that? And it's several different things. The patent for the high frequency apparatus, it shows fluorescent light that he lit up a quartz crystal tube that was filled with a plasma gas, and it lit up, and it had ultraviolet light and far infrared. It had all spectrums coming out of it. It was an amazing device, and he made them at his Wardenclyffe factory for about 10 years. So that factory on Long Island, which was originally used to be able to send, wireless telephone through the earth, ended up turning into a glass factory. So the Tesla Electrotherapeutic Company was incorporated with $200,000. Not a lot of people know about that, and they did a good job hiding it. But he was blowing long 20-foot tubes of fused quartz crystal glass and putting a gas inside of it, a special gas that his chemists invented, and it glowed. So when Thomas Edison had his incandescent bulb happening, the Tesla had ultraviolet light and infrared and full spectrum light, coming out of a fused quartz high frequency apparatus light. He lit it up with a high frequency. So he invented fluorescent light, and his fluorescent light was used in all the hospitals. It was amazing what he had. So that I give that story by recreating him in the factory, inventing it using archival footage and artificial intelligence to make it all look real, like you saw a little bit of it in the promo that I had showed you. But what I want to do today is teach you about vitamin D. And he was very, very much, Nikola Tesla was very, very much into understanding the effect that ultraviolet light had on your body. He was very, very good with that. And so if you take a drop of mercury and you put it inside this tube and you light it up with the high frequency apparatus, it will make ultraviolet light. Different chemicals inside the fluorescent tube, the quartz crystal tube, different gases will produce different spectrums of light. He knew how to duplicate the sun with a plasma, so his lights would be far infrared and ultraviolet C. So he knew by changing the gases, the spectrum that would come from the gas, would do different things to the body and would penetrate deeper depending on what frequency was coming out of the light. But he really liked a particular blue light, the cold corona discharge that sort of came out of the violet ray. So the very, very popular device that Tesla did invent was this handheld device called the violet ray. And a good buddy of his, Edgar Casey, always talked about using the violet ray to heal yourself. And it was a very, very, very popular device. All doctors had the violet ray. And it would emit ultraviolet light, and I've measured it, although it was just called the violet ray. It would put out ultraviolet light, would come out of it too. But not a lot, but it would come out. And I've measured it, and I have meters to be able to measure it, like vitamin D meters. I have all sorts of oscilloscopes in the back room, which I get into my classes. But the reason why I wanted to talk about ultraviolet light today with you is because we all need it. And it's terrible that what happened with when we went through COVID and they sort of like pushed it away as a use to be able to get, vitamin D into your body. And Trump came out and said, oh, the ultraviolet light kills the kills the COVID, and how can we get ultraviolet light in the body like as an injection to use as a disinfectant? And so he was basically talking about ozone therapy, which he uses and knows a lot about because his uncle taught him a lot about Nikola Tesla's health and healing inventions, so which Trump uses a lot to keep him doing what he's doing. So the side effects of that ultraviolet light, they've demonized it. Oh, don't go into ultraviolet light because you'll get cancer. But currently, right now, what we are now going through is that they're starting to tell you, well, maybe it doesn't cause cancer, and maybe it actually cures cancer. So we're just into that change part right now, where they're saying maybe ultraviolet light, maybe we do need it, and it will treat a lot of these chronic illnesses and conditions because of that specific frequency that is termed by the medical industry called UVB, ultraviolet B. It's a part of the spectrum. And the part of the spectrum in nanometers for energy, frequency, of vibration, so the frequency part of it, is around anywhere between 311 narrowband ultraviolet light to 295 nanometers, like the exact frequency. They have now discovered, Columbia University has discovered that 295 nanometers is the exact frequency, the best frequency to cause the cholesterol in your skin to be converted into a steroid, which they sort of call vitamin D. And vitamin D is not really actually a vitamin. It's a hormone. It's a steroid hormone. And when you expose that to your body, the blood comes to the surface and you get red. It's called urethemia, and it pulls it into the body and circulates it around the body to fix a lot of the problems that you have in your body. It's very important. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play you a little bit of a segment that I've currently produced. No music, no me talking underneath it, like there's no narration. I'll narrate it live. And it'll give you an idea about what vitamin D does. And I'm going to take you through a little tour of a factory that produces this light up here in Canada. And this particular company in Canada, you can buy ultraviolet light online and use it however you want. And you can open up a corner store to give vitamin D light therapy. You can open up a frequency salon. You don't have to be a medical doctor or anything. So the Canadian government up here in Canada is really pushing the use of ultraviolet light, right? So I'm going to go over to my other computer, and I will play that over here for you. Okay, so I'm going to go to the video, and I'm going to play this video. Okay.
Ultraviolet light occurs naturally. It's produced by the sun and is divided into three categories, but only two of them reach the Earth naturally. At one end, we have UVA light. It is the wavelengths that are responsible for tanning. As we go down as a shorter wavelength, we get into UVB light. These are the wavelengths that are responsible for the production of vitamin D and also for the healing of skin diseases. And then if we go still shorter wavelengths, we get into what's known as UVC, so-called germicidal wavelengths. They kill organisms. For example, water disinfection, there's applications for wound healing. Man has used light from the sun for the healing of skin diseases for millennia. There are wall coverings from the Egyptian period that show babies with hyperbilirubinemia, which is jaundiced, held up to the sun. This is thousands of years old. I've had psoriasis since I've been a wee lad, some 8 years old. And I suffered through my teens until finally I went to the University of Waterloo, where they had a UVB light device there, 1979. I got clear for the first time in my life, took about a year. And then upon graduation, I moved out of the town. I didn't have any phototherapy available, so I built my own device, and with that started Solarc Systems. The essence of our business is that across Canada, there's 100 phototherapy clinics where people can go and get UVB light treatment for their skin disease, psoriasis, vitiligo, and eczema. The problem is that you have to attend the clinic 3 times per week typically. And for a lot of people, this is just too onerous. The travel time, the waiting, and so forth. So we concentrate on devices for use in the home. All our SolarX devices are Health Canada cleared for the treatment of psoriasis, vitiligo, eczema, and vitamin D deficiency. Now, beyond that, there are many, many other skin diseases for which UVB light is used. One of them being cutaneous T-cell lymphoma. UVB light occurs naturally in sunlight, but in the winter, we hardly get any. Those are the wavelengths that are known to be the most healing for skin diseases. We have, in the summer, abundant amounts of UVA and UVB, even up here in Canada. So with the UVB, people will be able to produce some vitamin D by being out in midday sun. But as the days get shorter, the amount of UVB content in the natural sunlight decreases to the point where it becomes practically nothing. If you look at the incidence of multiple sclerosis, it's basically proportionate to the latitude that you live at. So the Scandinavian countries are the worst off. So for them, vitamin D supplementation or perhaps using a UVB device is not a bad idea. Vitamin D is essential to all human health. Every cell in the body contains a vitamin D receptor. So we need vitamin D. We can get it through oral supplementation, or we can get it through UVB light. One session of UVB light can make up to 25,000 IU of vitamin D. There's very few foods that contain vitamin D, and mushrooms, some mushrooms are one of them. We've sold UVB lamps to mushroom farmers from time to time to promote the production of vitamin D within their crop. The Canadian Cancer Society recommends, I believe, typically for vitamin D sufficiency is through the use of vitamin D tablets, or for some to consider using a UVB device. Those with perhaps Crohn's or cystic fibrosis or bowel resection and so forth. These people can get into single digits in vitamin D and have significant health problems as a result. For those folks, we might consider the use of a UVB device, which makes it naturally within the skin and in large quantities. One full body exposure can produce 20 to 25,000 IU equivalent in the body. Philips Lighting out of Holland discovered that the wavelengths could be fine-tuned, let's say, to take advantage of a sweet spot between the burning wavelengths and the vitamin D creation wavelengths and non-melanoma skin cancer as well. These are very special lamps. There's special glass needed to allow the UVB light to transmit through the glass. And the phosphor in the lamp, which is the white powder that coats the inside of the lamps, is difficult to reproduce chemical cocktail that can create this wavelength that peaks at 311 nanometers. Paramount importance to the efficacy of these devices, accepted by the dermatology community as one of the most important things in the dermatologist's toolbox. One of the interesting things is that after people get a home phototherapy device, be it for the treatment of the skin disease or for vitamin D, they get great control of their condition. They learn how to use the device effectively. They don't overuse the device because the process is inherently boring, and therefore they can carry on for decades using this treatment. I'm a case example. I've had phototherapy for about 40 years now, and no health problems, no side effects that I know of, and my vitamin D is 216.
Okay, so he gave me a light, and he says, I just want you to go home and try it out and get your measurement. And so I did. And I was low. It was in January. It was 53 nanomoles per liter, which, as you can see, is insufficient. This is suntan lotion, and I've got a UV filter on this camera. So you can see the effect that suntan lotion has on. So basically, it's reflecting UVB light, so you see it. So any that black on his face, that you're watching UVB. Now they're trying to make suntan lotion that will allow a little bit of that through, so you don't burn like crazy, but you do allow it to come through. It's a cream like this, and this is what it looks like under a UV camera that can shoot UVB. So it's blocking ultraviolet B light, so you see it because it's being reflected to the camera. So that's the problem with, when you put suntan lotion on it, it cuts out the UVB, so you'll tan, but you won't burn. And burn, it's not really a burn, it's called erythema. You want to be red. You just don't want it to the point where you put so much on you that when you touch it the next day, it hurts. But this is the effect that it actually has. You can get UV, blocker in your glasses, and this is what a UV blocker looks like, but that's not really good. You want UVB. And so your glass that in your home actually blocks the UVB light. It won't come through. This is my UVB light right there in front of the camera, and you'll see the UVB being reflected, off of my hand, off of his hand, my assistant's hand. A good thing if you get sunburn is aloe, and so I study the effect of ultraviolet light on plants, and I give my plants a lot of ultraviolet light when I get it too. I do lots of research. I just don't talk about it. I do scientific research in the laboratories. So after 1 month of using it once a day for 4 minutes, my vitamin D level went to normal. 4 minutes a day in the middle of January. I was
in the United States, they moved tanning equipment from class 1 designation up to class 2, which puts in force a lot of additional controls. And they've really clamped down on tanning in general. Tanning salons use UVA light. UVA light are the tanning wavelengths, and they create the skin pigment. There's only about 5% UVB in these lamps, and that is the UVB that is responsible for making vitamin D.
They have different types of amount of UVB. This particular machine has UVB fluorescent lamps, but it also has high pressure lamps over the face using a fused quartz bulb. It has a different effect. So there was a study that was done here in Toronto about could just using a tanning salon in the wintertime twice a week give you enough vitamin D from a tanning salon. And this is the machine that was used to do the study right here. So I went back and redid the study. Just just using a tanning machine, you get enough vitamin D to have a normal level through all winter. And this is the study that was done at the University of Toronto. So can sunbeds with UVB radiation produce the levels of serum of hydroxy vitamin D in healthy volunteers? And they said, yeah. So there's a place up in Montreal that bought the solar system bulbs, and they built a room called the Blue Room. It's a box. You go inside, and
The
it's a
Blue
whole
Room is
pile.
an octagon, and it's a stainless steel mirror inside. And you lay down in the middle of that place, and I open the UVB light for 3, 6, or 9 minutes. You will have the vitamin D. You know, the Blue Room help physically, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, for all of that.
And you can buy the parts.
The
from
dermatologists
solar
are faced with a bit of a dilemma. They need to have a simple message. Up until now has been to have no UV whatsoever. This may be a reasonable approach if we look only at skin cancer. However, by excluding UV totally, we also exclude natural sunlight creating vitamin D in our skin. People with a lot of what they might term occupational UV exposure, these are people like maybe roofers or anybody outside working on a continuous basis day after day. These folks are not coming forth with skin cancer. And the reason, no doubt, is that they receive continuous amounts. They build up a protective pigment in the skin and no doubt very high vitamin D levels. They're not coming forth with skin cancer. Instead, it's more the people that are intermittently exposed to UV and perhaps being burned as a result. Maybe the weekend warrior types. These are the folks that have a greater problem, or the folks that totally exclude UV from their lives. Religious use of sunscreens and keeping totally covered up. Perhaps a better recommendation might be to take very modest amounts of natural sunlight and to take it at a time in the day when we get the most amount of UVB. Turns out that the best time then is right at high noon. This is when the sun's highest in the sky. So to take 10 or 15 minutes, unprotected coverings to be as naked as you can, so it allows the short wavelengths of UVB to get to our skin. This is probably a reasonable approach. The important thing is to never get burned. So modest amounts taken regularly is a reasonable approach.
Okay, so it wasn't perfect. I made a couple of mistakes there, but it's you get the idea. So the politics of this is interesting. To use ultraviolet B light, so it's just ultraviolet B, no A in it, in the United States, you need a medical prescription from a doctor, which is a bummer. There's a company called Sperti that you can buy a vitamin D light. It's very small. It's about this big, but it's got UVA in it, and you will tan from it. But there's not a lot of UVA in it. But to have a bulb that will only produce that certain frequency that'll make vitamin D, you have to get a prescription from a medical doctor, which is sort of like a drag. In Canada, they don't care. You buy it off the internet, do it, and go start a business giving vitamin D to people in like they did at the Blue Room. So this is different. So the laws are different, but that's going to change. and they're going to loosen up a lot of these restrictions now with Robert Kennedy aboard, trying to find a way to help beat all these chronic conditions that the world is being faced with. And a big reason why there is so much cancer and illnesses such as multiple sclerosis is because we're not getting enough of that specific frequency. And that's a very important frequency. And from my research, by going over to Europe, to the universities in Europe that teach dermatology, the universities in Europe have banded together of the university professors that teach dermatology, and they understand the use of ultraviolet light to treat the diseases that he spoke about. They put a declaration together and says, this is terrible, what happened, that demonizing ultraviolet light, saying that it causes cancer. You will get cancer if you don't take ultraviolet light. So we're right into this process right now as I speak, where they're stopping the demonization of ultraviolet light. So for example, you'll see Robert Kennedy with his shirt off all the time. He's not trying to show that he's the greatest bodybuilder. He's trying to show you gotta go out and get ultraviolet light. So the whole thing about ultraviolet light causing skin cancer, yes, it will. If you're a farmer and you're in the field and you're in the sun all day long, and you might get a cancer on your forehead or your nose or stuff like that, but you ain't gonna die from that. You know, they just sort of burn it off, these little imperfections. And they've all now proved, and there's tons of research coming out, that ultraviolet light does not cause melanoma. So we're coming into a new world here, where, stuff that was banned and discouraged because of the pharmaceuticals had a lot of control over top of the regulating bodies, that's now being changed. So this is a good news. And so Tesla's medicine is sort of returning, which was very popular a long time ago. It's now returning so everybody can use it. And where I have come into this to try to help along with this is that I deal a lot with the companies that produce these things by going through their factories and understanding it. So they've now invented an LED light, an LED, and the LED makes exactly 295 nanometers. And so it's like, basically it's sort of like invisible. I can hold this up to you. I'm not sure if you'll actually see it go on and off because ultraviolet light's invisible. But yeah, we produce this vitamin D light right here. I get it manufactured in China, and it's now currently going through testing at Agri-Canada to add vitamin D to your food. So if you want to put your own vitamin D in mushrooms or cook with it, or you can buy it as a flashlight. Or I've got another one here. I'll show you. This is a long strip, the same LEDs in the strip. I think there's almost 60 in this there, and each LED has a little bit of a, let me see if I give you my overhead, if you can see that. Each one of these LEDs has a fused quartz gemstone over top of it, because that's Tesla's invention, fused quartz, which I'll talk about, just address it just a little bit so you'll understand why it makes it so cool. That this is going to be used to grow mushrooms, vitamin D with mushrooms, or cannabis. If you want cannabis to be hallucinogenic, THC, you add UVB on it. Mushrooms explode with vitamin D of it. So the idea, what Canada wants to do is they want to put ultraviolet light on everything so that the food lasts longer, activates it like that. So this is good news for everybody. Hallelujah. Let's see. I think my time is like, it's 6:49, 6:50. So asked me to speak for about an hour till 7 o'clock. And I just would like to addend this with sort of like a secret. So if you want to discover the secrets of the universe, it's energy, frequency, and vibration. So what Tesla did in his Long Island laboratory was that he had 2 huge Westinghouse generators. And one generator was used to send electricity through the ground, but the other generator was used for the plant. And I always wondered why a generator, you would really need that much power to run sort of like this plant to do manufacturing in. And it wasn't that. What he was doing, he was electrifying quartz in a blast furnace, and that's called fused quartz. It's very magical. And not a lot of people talk about that. It's the sort of the secret of the drug companies. But he took sand and he shot lightning into the sand, and it melted. And you take away the product off, the byproduct of it off, and now you've got a great big, hunk of fused quartz crystal. And he blew it into long 20-foot rods, and they bent them into like a little ball, and he had this like quartz bulbs that had this gas inside, and it lit up. So it was like fused quartz, and the fused quartz is very magical. So if you've ever seen any of these singing bowls, those singing bowls, those are actually crucibles. They're used to manufacture drugs. That's what they are. Never meant to be used for singing. And if you take ultraviolet light and you pass it through fused quartz that's had electricity put in it, whatever on the inside, it alters the structure of the food. And that's how they make, vitamin D. And that's how they make antibiotics and drugs and everything. They expose, they put ultraviolet light through the fused quartz because the electricity did something, the lightning did something to the quartz, which restructured whatever you put into it. So for example, vitamin D fortification started at the University of Wisconsin, that discovered that if you take milk and you shine ultraviolet light on it through fused quartz, the milk takes on an anti-archaic property, rickets, anti-archaic property. So they got a patent for that. So only the University of Wisconsin could shine ultraviolet light on food. And so they went to Borden's Milk and they got $1 million and gave them the rights to fortify their milk with vitamin D. And then they went to Quaker's Oats, got $1 million from Quaker's Oats to fortify their food with vitamin D. And then they went to the drug companies and they got blue cheese mold. It's called penicillium, and you put it inside the fused quartz, you shine ultraviolet light on it, and it turns into penicillin. And ivermectin is a fungus that grows on a root of a plant that's hard to pronounce, but they expose it to ultraviolet light, and that turns it into ivermectin. So the drug industry has used ultraviolet light to activate their drugs. That's what they've been doing inside of fused quartz, and that's a big invention of Nikola Tesla, because he had the lightning bolts that he shot into that stuff just at the turn of the century, just at the 1900s. And General Electric brought out fused quartz, the invention of it, in sort of 1923. So there is, one of the big reasons why you don't know a lot about Nikola Tesla and his medical inventions, because they were sort of too good. And now that, we got the Tesla car and, the Tesla things that sort of exploding, what they had done to sort of hide everything about Tesla at all, these things are all coming back because of the internet. And you can go and get, the newspaper articles from newspapers.com that talked about all this stuff. And it was very popular. So my film is sort of, I'm not attacking any governments. I'm not trying not to be the conspiracy theorist type of guy. I'm just bringing, science and technology, to the world right now, because we've now moved ahead and we're basically using a lot of these technologies in the hospitals, in private clinics, like ozone therapy, which Tesla invented the first ozone machine. So inside of an ozone machine, there's a fused quartz crystal, and they put ultraviolet light in the fused quartz. and you have, I'm just going to cut my echo here. And you put a rod on the inside of a quartz crystal rod, and you put a heat sink on the outside, and you plug it in the wall, and you got a transformer, and then you got a cold corona discharge. You take oxygen, and it just passes through the ultraviolet light through the fused quartz. It's the fused quartz is what gives it the medical properties, and that's an invention of Nikola Tesla. So that will come out in the next episode too. So talking about light therapy and quartz and crystals, and what Tesla said, like the crystals are living beings. And so he really liked crystals, and he knew how to grow them, and he knew how to manufacture them. So that's all I think that I can get to you right now. And I think we'll open it up to some questions if there are any.
Yeah, there's a couple here. Let's see.
Okay.
There's Paul. What about using a UVA-B reptile heat lamp? He believes
Okay.
Dr. Cruz mentioned that.
Yeah. So those lamps are extremely low power, extremely low. It's like I have them, and they're like anywhere between like 3 watts to 5 watts. And you know, they're a little fluorescent light bulb. The problem with those things, in order to get enough vitamin D in your body to do that, you'd have to sit in front of them and move it all around your body for at least, I don't know, probably at least a half hour. And that's the drawback to do ultraviolet light therapy. You know, you need to do it every day. You have to go out in the sun every day, and you have to get it on your body. So they have the large tubes, you know, and you stand in front of it, you know, 5 minutes later, like you're gone. But they'll work. They're not really exactly the UVB frequency that gives you the vitamin D. There is one, but there's a very sharp point that I showed you in this. That's that the 311 nanometers is that narrowband UVB that they've decided to use for a long time. And that's not a narrowband UVB. That's a wideband UVB, right? That so you're going to get a lot of ultraviolet light in your body that's not going to actually give you the vitamin D that you want, because it will have UVA in it too. And you don't want UVA. You don't want UVA in your body, because that will change your skin color, and that'll make it harder to get vitamin D. You know, it's like people that have dark skin, especially like really black people. Their really health is not very good if they live in places like Detroit and Buffalo. It's way too far away. So you'll notice that the black people will get white patches on their face, like Michael Jackson. That's called vitiligo, and that's what these ultraviolet lights they're used for in skin clinics, to take away that white patch, because the body is changing its skin color so that you can get ultraviolet light in your body. And Michael Jackson just decided to bleach his whole body because he had sort of vitiligo. So this is the drawback of using, you know, the reptile bulb. But yes, you know, it'd be best to use it to put, you know, UV vitamin D in your food. You know, that would be probably a little bit better.
There's another one. Are chemtrails blocking vitamin D?
Absolutely, yes. That's this is a big problem. At the time of the year that you can actually get vitamin D in your body, if you live beyond Atlanta. Atlanta is the sort of cutoff point. So if you live beyond Atlanta, you will get no vitamin D in your body from October to April, 0. It won't be there because the sun is too low in the sky. It has to go through too much smog, you know, to get you. So it's not straight overhead. it's sort of like on an angle like this, so it has to go through so much air pollution and oxygen and smog that you're not getting enough. So if you have clouds, or that if you have stuff that alters the atmosphere, like chemtrails, for whatever reason they're doing it for, yes, that will block ultraviolet light from coming onto your body. Yes, it will do that.
I'd like to make a comment. Like we're really focused, on like getting the UV and everything, but people should wear eye protection for sunlight, especially like if we get older, because it's the sunlight, which breaks up your there's little things there, those rods in your eyes. It causes cataracts, and bright sunlight increases them. And I wear, like when I'm outside, I wear these transitions, where they go from clear to dark, depending on the sunlight. Because that saved my eyesight somewhat. I was told by my eye doctor 5 years ago that I'd probably have to have a cataract surgery in 5 years. Well, this year they looked at it and they said my I have cataracts, but they're tiny. And it's probably because the sunlight isn't destroying the rods in your eyes like would normally do if you were out in the bright sunlight. So yeah, so there's a yin and yang to all this stuff. Moderation is the key to everything. I have always believed that, and no one size fits all. We're all different.
Okay, so I'd like to sort of make a little comment about that. What happened to me is when I went and shot that factory I just showed you, he looked at me over, as I was shooting this, and he saw I had glasses on, and he didn't make any comments to me. And I was looking at it and staring at it for a long time. And on my way home, I noticed that I didn't need to wear glasses. My eyesight was perfect. And I went, whoa, that's just like, what's going on here? And then the next day I woke up and it felt like I had sand in my eyes, a little bit of like sandy eyes. And they call it sailor's eyes because sailors are on ships all the time and they're getting the ultraviolet light bouncing off the water. So they wear very dark, glasses. The sailors do that because they're exposed to it all the time. And it was just for, maybe like 4 or 5 hours. It just felt sandy, and then it sort of went away. And then I had to go back and shoot again. I went there about 3 or 4 times, and I went back and shot again. I didn't know what was the problem, but, I shot again and more. I did exactly the same thing. And on the way home at night, like my eyesight was perfect, and I wear glasses all the time. And I was, whoa, what is going on? And so I went home and my eyes were sandy again. And so I called him and I said, I noticed there's an effect the next day, like my eyes are really good, but then the next day they're sandy, but then it's okay, like what's going on? And then he would say, oh, make sure you wear the glasses, make sure you don't look at the sunlight because you'll get cataracts. That's what causes cataracts. And I says, well, how do you know this? He goes, well, this is what I've been told. I says, oh, okay. Well, I think I'm going to do a little bit of research on that because it's so amazing that my eyesight was perfect. And then it was sandy. So there's something was good about it for a little bit. So I went to see an optometrist in Florida that actually uses ultraviolet light and shines in people's eyes to reverse their blindness. And I went, whoa, like this is like weird. This is exact opposite. And they says, well, they tell you not to breathe ozone, but they were breathing ozone a long time ago. And they said, don't expose yourself to ultraviolet light because you'll get skin cancer. And it's the same thing. They told the optometrists, don't use light to heal the eye. So there's a whole grouping of optometrists that are out there that don't use surgery on the eye. They use light into the eye to heal the eye. And I have 15 minutes of that guy talking about that, and he says it's important to look into the sun. And they have this thing called sun yoga in India. And in order to practice this sun yoga, you have to stare at the sun with the naked eye for a half an hour. And this is called sun yoga. And I says, well, but what about the cataracts and everything they're talking about? And they all said that's disinformation. So now I don't know. I have no idea if this is true or not. But I do know that my eyesight improves because I stare at ultraviolet light every time I use it. I stare into the light about that far away for about 15 seconds. And I've been using it for 8 years, and I use it every day. And I haven't had to change my prescription in 8 years.
And you've been very fortunate.
Well, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah,
I just ask questions. I'm not a doctor. I just ask questions and experiment on myself.
You know, there's a reason why people working on radars and radio, they tend not to, get in front of the screen there, because as far as the antennas there, because it does affect you, and it does.
Absolutely. That's microwave radiation. I'm an expert in that subject. Total expert, yes. And it started with the radar dishes, the radar operators from the radar, the reflections of the radar. That's a way lower frequency, so you got microwaves, and then you got infrared, and then then light, and then you've got ultraviolet, on that stuff. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's all about the dose. It really is about the dose. A little bit too much, but a little bit of ultraviolet light is actually good for the eye, according to probably 6,000 optometrists that actually use it in secret on the eye to improve the eyesight.
A little bit.
There's a guy named Bates, the Bates method. And he's a very famous optometrist, the Bates method. And you stare at the sun, and you take your fingers and you move your fingers like this, so the light pulses. Because when you pulse a magnetic field, it's more biologically active. And exactly the same thing is with light. If you pulse light, it's more biologically active. So Bates was a very, very famous optometrist, that he said you use light in your eye to heal you and to do it. So I don't know. I'm not an optometrist. I'm just a guy that's run around, and I ask both sides of the questions. That's all. And I experiment on myself, and it seems to help my eyesight. So I've had my two best friends, women, my two best friends had cataract surgery on their eyes, and they never looked at it like that, but they got cataracts, and they went and they had a lens put in, and they made sure that the lens that they put in the eye, the lens they put in would not block the ultraviolet light. So when they had that lens put into their eye, they said they could see colors that were totally amazing, that they never ever saw before, because the lens that they put on through the eye was transparent to ultraviolet light. Now that's why they would do that. I don't know, right? But that's what they do when they change cataracts. When they put the lens in, they put a lens in that's transparent to ultraviolet light.
Well, here's a comment here. I have a Myron glass water bottle that filters the light, and only UVB and far infrared gets through the water. The bottle never needs to be cleaned, never gets slimy, and energizes the water.
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I never heard of such a thing, Myron.
Yeah, well, this fused quartz kind of cool. I'll give you a little demonstration. This is basically a fused quartz glass. This glass right here is a wine glass, and you buy it from China for about $80, and by the time it gets here in the US dollars, like this wine glass is worth about $300 right here. This is a Tesla meter right here. And I'll put it on an overhead right there. This right here, the overhead right there, and I'll just move that over here. And so basically, a Tesla meter can read a magnetic field or an electric field. And if I, turn it on right now, you can see how much, the electric field is in the room, and there's really not too much. And if I move my hand like this, it moves it a little bit. But if I pick up this meter, my batteries here. Okay, my battery's low. Okay, so this is the electricity in my room. There's a lot of electricity here. It's not a magnetic field, it's an electric field. And if I move my hand a little bit like this, it moves it because the electric field is in my body. But if I take this, see this? Because the electric field that comes out of this, this thing's humming with the electricity. So my electric field in my body is amplifying. So this fused quartz glass, which is totally transparent to ultraviolet light, which I could sort of show you with my vitamin D meter here. Could you make the screen go full screen so you're not in the picture? It'll be easier for me to demonstrate this. Thank you. So if you can see there's no ultraviolet light in the room, but if I take and turn on my ultraviolet light, the meter goes right off the chart. See, just by shining it through, it's totally transparent to ultraviolet light. And if I put in, wine in this or anything that's got phytosterols inside this, it'll take on the vitamin D. So with meat, it's cholesterol, and with plants, it's phytosterols. So basically, when you take the ultraviolet light and pass it through the fused quartz, the electricity in the fused quartz changes the carrier wave of the ultraviolet light, and whatever inside, it stores the magical property of the drug. So I basically, charge my food with ultraviolet light through fused quartz, and I activate my own food with ultraviolet light. I make my own vitamin D, which they did a long time ago when Tesla was making all this stuff. Everybody was making their own vitamin D, and then they put a patent for it. You couldn't use it, and they sort of demonized it. So yeah. Okay.
Well, it's getting kind of late, so we'd like to thank you for being here. I don't see any other questions here. So I want to remind everyone to sign up for the conference. And for those of you who can't make it, we'll be doing a live stream, and you'll see this banner on my website. And if you go to that, you'll be able to take and sign up for the live stream. And maybe you might want to check it out too. Anyway, you all have a great day, and we'll see you all next week. And thank you for being such a kind guest.